Hey everyone, welcome to what we call Huddle Up with Howard. Mike Claiborne here. Carey Davis from the University of Illinois, in case you can't read, is with us as well. It's good to have both you guys here. It's been a while since we've had a chance to talk. So I want to ask you guys this question because you guys are from two different conferences as far as the games you see. You're color analysts for the University of Illinois. Howard, you're at the University of Missouri. We played enough games now. What's the personality of the Big Ten as far as how that team would be perceived? Because, it used to be 5 yards and a cloud of dust. Yeah. So what's the mindset and what do you see on a consistent basis within the league?
I don't know if Howard, you agree with this, but I think it's so much more intermingled with both conferences. I think both conferences have teams in them that can play either style of football. I mean, you got Vanderbilt that's going to run the ball with their quarterback. You got Indiana that's going to throw the ball quick now routes, is going to get the ball out of their hands quickly. It just depends on the team. I think both conferences cross over really well. And then Ohio State, which, matches up with, I think, any team in the SEC. It's been a really good season for college football, and kind of the parity that you've seen, the teams kind of going up and down. But those two or three teams that have been at the top pretty much all year, in Ohio State, Indiana, and Texas A&M.
And the last year also.
Yeah.
Ohio State, Indiana, right there. Same with this year in the SEC. South Carolina, Texas A&M, Texas for a while. Of course, Alabama, Georgia, under the radar, would never count a Georgia team out with Kirby Smart.
Yeah, the way he coaches, I would agree with you. All right, what's been the surprise team? And let's take Missouri and Illinois out of the equation. What's the team that you've seen that you said, okay, and maybe because of the portal, and let's face it, man, you have to have a program in order to keep up with these teams now. But what's the team that really kind of surprised you as far as when you saw them, you were more impressed than what you saw on paper?
It's going to be Indiana for me. I just mentioned them a second ago. They are Fernando Mendoza has been one of the best quarterbacks, most consistent quarterbacks in all of college football. You had all of these different names coming into the season, and nobody really spoke about Fernando Mendoza at Indiana. You had Arch Manning, you had Cade Klubnik, you had Nussmeier, you had all of these, Drew Aller. All of these guys were projected to be the number one quarterback taken in this upcoming draft. And Fernando Mendoza in Indiana said, wait a second, let me show you all that this is the real deal, that this was not a one and done type of season for Indiana. They've been playing outstanding. He's getting the ball to his players. And I was texting a group of friends Saturday watching that Indiana Penn State game. And I said to myself, now, this is an opportunity for Fernando Mendoza to show why he is the Heisman candidate that he should be, why he should be the first quarterback taken. And he drove that ball down the field, made some throws up the seam, made some great throws, and then that final throw to the end zone to Omar Cooper. He really showed me a lot in that last drive, and he's done a great job all season long.
And you know what? He's a guy that Missouri coveted. Couldn't get him. And that's how
couldn't afford him, or just didn't
got for whatever reason. Yeah. I don't know that it was money, but could have been. They ended up with Bo Perbula instead, and obviously, you saw what happened to Bo Perbula against Vanderbilt, and Mendoza is making plays
every week,
and I like the fact that he was an underdog, as you mentioned. No one even knew who he was really. But he has risen to the occasion, and he's going to be right there on the Heisman podium, I think.
The Heisman. So I'm hot and cold on it. I remember when the Heisman was an award where they awarded the best football player, the best athlete.
Yeah, correct.
Now it's the quarterback,
Similar to NFL MVP.
Yeah, same thing. and I remember when Hugh Green was at Pitt, and there wasn't a man alive that could block him by himself. And he was dominant, and he was maybe Howard, one of the first guys who was a Heisman Trophy finalist.
Yeah,
and we've had some other guys from defense that have been able to have an impact. But I think that award for me is watered down to the point where why don't we just name it something else after a quarterback?
Yeah,
and
I agree.
And because that's what you're giving it to every year. Yeah. And you can't tell me there aren't other players at other positions. When I see some of these offensive linemen, some of these tackles who don't give up a sack and have their guy make a tackle in the game,
right.
Or when I see a linebacker controlling the game or a safety controlling the game on his side of the ball, And I just think that they've gotten away from what the game of football is all about.
I would like to see them elevate the other awards, like the Outland Trophy, the Lombardi Trophy, the Doak Walker Trophy, raise them to the same level as the Heisman, so that if you're a position player and you win that award, you're going to be as recognized as anyone who would win the Heisman Trophy. And I don't think it's that hard to do either. Or maybe you award them all at the same time on the same day.
I would do two things. Either I would offer these awards to these other athletic clubs around the country, like the Missouri Athletic Club in St. Louis, maybe the one in Chicago, and see if they will have some interest, get a network involved in it as well, and let that be their presentation. Or you can do them all in the New York Athletic Club. But I agree with you. I think that there should be more recognition for those guys, because if you look back, a lot of those guys who should have been considered probably had better careers than the guy who won the trophy.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think it's for the best, quote, air quotes, the best college player that year. Travis Hunter won it last year. I thought Ashton Jeanty was well deserving of it as well. So
I thought he was more of a difference maker than Travis Hunter.
I did as well. Yeah. I actually felt like Ashton Jeanty should have won it, came in second, which is, nothing to sneeze at, but I thought he had a great season. They both did. But I do agree with you. Most times it is a quarterback award. It is quarterback driven. Even coming into the season, like I just mentioned, all of those quarterbacks, Arch Manning was the #1 Heisman favorite. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, like, oh, he might not be able to play.
He may even start next week.
So I think it's unfortunate, it's unfair. But if I'm looking at college football right now, I do think Fernando Mendoza has had the best season so far. I mean, we're especially out of the quarterbacks. He's been the most consistent one.
The competition he's faced.
Too. Yep. He's playing some really good teams. I mean, you go out to Oregon, and that was the eye-opening thing for me. Us at Illinois, we got beat 63-10. And it wasn't that eye-opening in that moment, because it just went downhill real quick. Like after the third quarter, middle of the third quarter, you're like, oh, okay. I see this. I see how it goes.
And stuff like that, because there's nothing to do about the game.
Nothing I can do. I don't have anything that I can tell you to make this better right now.
Just run the ball, run out the clock. Let's hurt this thing up.
You remember that year when Oklahoma was beating the tar out of Missouri and Woody Wooden-Harper was coaching, and the offensive coordinator called up a pass play. It can be like 60-0, and Woody got on the head, said, "If you call one more pass play, you getting fired.
Yeah, run the ball, man." But the game that opened my eyes. This Penn State game was a really good game. I know Penn State fired their coach and they're struggling. They've not been as good as people thought. But that game when they went to Oregon and won in Oregon was eye-opening, because it kind of let the country know, okay, Indiana is the real deal. Like, they got really good players on both sides of the ball, and they're making plays when it matters most.
And it proved that last year wasn't a fluke.
Correct.
They're a playoff team. Yep. And someone, I can't remember which sideline reporter was that asked Curt Cignetti before the game.
Oh, yeah.
Basically, you've not won here. It's a tough place to play. And Cignetti almost cut her off and said, "This team hasn't played here."
Correct.
Yeah, exactly.
This team's never lost.
We've never lost here.
And I love that.
And that's
what he was honest.
Yeah.
He wasn't over the top with it. He just spoke the truth.
Yeah.
And I mean, his team reflects his attitude.
Correct. Yeah. That mindset of, oh, Indiana, the University of Indiana has never won here. He's like, well, this team's never played here. This team's never lost here. This group of guys, different from every other year that has been here, has never lost here. So I don't know what you're speaking of. And it's just the mindset. And when you put that into your team, your players, now they start to believe, yeah, you're right. We haven't ever lost there.
It's funny. That's one of those quotes, though. I mean, that happened last week. It's already, 5 days later. I'm still thinking about that.
Yeah.
That's something that's going to resonate for the rest of the year, especially if they, advance far in the playoffs, or maybe even have a chance to play in the championship.
Yeah.
Going back to your earlier point about which team surprises me, I'd have to say in the SEC, Vanderbilt, because of where Vandy has come from.
Yeah.
Yep.
Perennial doormat. Lost everything. Everyone just used to mark Vandy on the schedule as an automatic
win. Indiana. Like
that's right.
They're similar paths right now, similar courses.
And I think Indiana, Vanderbilt, Northwestern, probably the teams until last couple of years with the most losses in college football for like Power 4 programs. But Vandy, because of what Clark Lee has been able to do, first of all, he's a highly intelligent coach, very thoughtful. His temperament is great. He knew what he was getting into. He's a Vanderbilt alum, of course, so the passion is there for him. But he knew where Vanderbilt had to be better. He started with that offensive line, and he went out and got 5 dudes that can flat out play, and it shows on the field. Of course, bringing in Jerry Kill and Tim Beck from New Mexico, and of course Diego Pavia, who he's had his moments, but he's been great for Vanderbilt. And was in the earlier Heisman conversations. He's not going to win it, but he, for that unit, garnered a lot of respect and was the engine that drove that team last year.
We talk about the coach from Indiana. I tell you who he reminds me of when he first came on the scene was Dabo Swinney. Remember how Dabo was so feisty and just reminding everybody, this is a new Clemson.
Right.
And, I love Cignetti's approach. And I think for pumping the tires of those kids and letting them know, hey, this is their thing.
All right.
And, recruiting, as you all know, is hard. It's getting harder. And when you watch a guy like that talk and he's letting you decide your own fate, I just think Indiana can really grow from this.
I think Indiana has better players than people would even understand.
Right.
Omar Cooper.
And they've had good individuals over the years, but they never had a good team.
They have some really good players. Their best receiver, Surratt, didn't play against Penn State. He is I'm trying to find a comparison, but he's one of those receivers. You get the ball in his hands, you throw him a 5-yard slant, he's gonna run it and make it 25 yards. Like he runs through tackles. Omar Cooper is the same way. Like these two guys are really good. And then the offensive line is solid up front. They do a really good job. So you have all of those pieces, and then you have a quarterback that doesn't turn the ball over. Like you talk, Fernando Mendoza was probably the 4th or 5th most sought after quarterback in the transfer portal coming from California, and he's there. Curt Cignetti knows how to utilize him in the best way to get the most out of him. And I think they are doing a really, really good job. And they have some sneaky good athletes on their roster.
Coaching has a lot to do with it as well. These coaches have to learn how to coach on the fly now, because if you have a good player, you're not going to have them for 4 years. That's the first thing. But we're at that age of our lives where we see some of these coaches on the sideline that you either played against, played with, or coached against at some point. Any guys that stand out that you look at on the sideline and you say to yourself, this is the last thing I thought this guy would be doing is coaching?
Well, I got a couple of friends that are coaching. I got a friend, one of my good close friends is the wide receiver coach for the Philadelphia Eagles, Aaron Moorhead. So like every time I see him, I'm watching the game and I'm like, And then you obviously paying attention to what's going on with AJ Brown and all those things. I'm just like, man, I hope you're okay today, brother, because I know you over there
deep breath,
worried and just trying to manage. That's the thing about coaching, though. It's not just, I think people assume it's the on the field aspect of it, like getting guys in the right place and making sure guys are ready to work every day. But it's also managing multiple personalities, like different people, what makes them tick and how to get the most out of them, and really, dissecting how to get a man to do the best he can every single day, even when he doesn't feel his best. That's what coaching is. It's trying to get those guys motivated and make sure that they're ready to go when you need it most.
There's a couple guys that one name you'll know, the other one you may or may not know, but you'll know who he is once I mention him. The first one is Mike Zimmer, former coach at the Bengals, coordinator at the Cowboys, and then head coach at the Vikings. Mike Zimmer was a graduate assistant at Mizzou under Warren Powers. And you could hardly get the guy to say anything, but you could just tell that he was there, cutting his teeth, learning under Carl Reese, who recently passed away this year. And it elevated his game. He's been to a lot of places, but he learned a lot about the game and positioned himself, all the way up to the head coach ranks. I never would have ever guessed. And not to say that he, wasn't capable. He just didn't have the temperament that you would expect to be a long-time NFL assistant and then a head coach. The other one is a guy that was a 9th round pick by the Cowboys, same draft as I was, played wide receiver. The Cowboys cut him towards the end of training camp that year. He went on to a 10-year career, winning 4 Super Bowls with San Francisco 49ers, and later was an assistant in the league. Mike Wilson.
Really?
I talked to Mike last year, and he has always been a person that truly took his lot with the 49ers, absorbed everything that Bill Walsh and his staff were teaching him, and applied that as a coach, and was really good.
I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Try not to look. but I mean, just an intellectual, when it comes to moving guys to the next level and maximizing their skills.
You mentioned A.J. Brown. What is it about when you look at the game of football? The problem player is normally either a wide receiver or a cornerback.
Well,
and very seldom, you may have a few cornerbacks, but the wide receiver, you show me a year where a wide receiver isn't in the limelight for something that has nothing to do with his skill set, but the fact either he's not getting the ball or he's having a problem with his quarterback because he's not getting the ball. I've always felt it was because they were on that island, because I never heard about offensive tackle bitching the moment. I never heard about a guard.
Fullback.
Exactly. You don't hear, but I always felt because he was on an island, he was not working with other people. Fullbacks blocking for a running
back. Right.
Offensive guards blocking because he's protecting his center. Whatever the case may be, there's unity.
Right.
But that receiver is out on that island, man, and all he's thinking about is me.
I think, and I've said this, I have no issue with it. I've never been bothered with a star receiver or person wanting the ball, because they are impact players. They are there for that purpose. And if he's complaining, it's because he wants to have an impact on the game. And I watched him, speak to reporters yesterday. He's like, our defense is doing the best they can, but offensively, we have to be better. We can be better if I am allowed to be in the game plan. And I often say this. Point. I often say this, like, wide receivers are like Clydesdales, they're like horses. They have blinders on. They don't see anything outside of right here. And I love that trait. I wish I had that trait. I wish I was able to be that laser focused and a little bit selfish to say, hey, I am an impact player. Get me the damn ball so that I can have an impact on this game and help our team win.
I'll take it a step further. Not as much selfishness, but more passion.
Correct.
Because you know what you've been sizing this guy up that's across from you all day.
Yep.
Already know how you can defeat him.
Yeah.
And you've been running routes and you've gotten open, you've separated. And unfortunately, either because you're the guys up front aren't blocking, or the quarterback is looking in a different direction. If he gets you the ball, you can make a play. So I get that passion, that frustration. And I've seen it too many times over the years.
So I was going to ask both you guys. You guys were in the league. You guys played big time college football. Who was the biggest groucher?
So in Pittsburgh, we didn't have a grouch.
Yeah. Well, Antonio Brown might have been the first.
I wasn't there with Antonio. I missed Antonio by a year.
Thank goodness.
But my guy Santonio Holmes, he wanted the ball. Like he wanted the football, but Hines was like the leader of that room, and Hines was, hey man, you want me to go block this defensive end? Cool, okay. And so when you have a player with that mindset, everyone else kind of falls in line and they do what they're supposed to do. But back to your point, what I was going to say is, if you're a receiver and you're running 25 yards down the field every third play and you're not getting the damn ball, you're like, hey man, I ain't come out here to run track.
Right.
You know what?
Exactly.
Well, at least he's in shape.
I ain't signed up to run track. Throw me the ball so I can do something with it. So I think that's just a passionate player that wants to be an impactful player for his team.
What about you?
So I played, of course, with some probably 3 receivers that were in their own right among the best in the NFL. Starting with Drew Pearson, who was the de facto leader of the Cowboys receiving corps, the original 88, as he's called. But we also had Tony Hill, the Thrill, who was diva-ish, not over the top, but Thrill was like, I mean, I'm open every time. Give me the ball, whiz, I'm open. Throw me the ball. And he could be a little, he could sulk a little bit, but Hill's issue was his weight would fluctuate. He'd go up and down, up and down. He wasn't built like your traditional receiver. He was more, lower body heavy, but still had deceptive speed.
Yeah.
But he would whine a little bit about not getting the ball. The third would be Butch Johnson, California Quake. And
by the way, I still thought he dropped that ball in the end zone in the Super Bowl. Remember when he made that catch and he landed and the ball was
it's just one of those controversial plays. But of course, he's credited with the touchdown. That's all that matters. But he, and Butch had a great skill set. You're more two receiver sets at that time. So he, to me, would have been a really good slot receiver if he had been in a 3 receiver set. We didn't run that then. But Butch had, to me, legitimate points to make about what he could do on the field, and dude had great hands. I mean, could make plays.
He had huge hands, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know if you know this, but his sister Julie, her brother is the late, now famous Bill Withers. So I would see Bill Withers at training camp.
Denise Nichols wasn't with him.
No,
you talking about fine.
That's a reference. I don't know if you. That's a whole other.
Just Google Denise Nichols from back in the day. Yeah, and then you know what I'm talking about. All right, before we get out of here, Missouri, Illinois this weekend. You guys have probably interesting opponents. You have Maryland. You have Mississippi State. Missouri obviously needs a win. Well, everybody needs a win because now at this point, we're looking at what position can we get bowl game wise. And if nothing else, you want to win out because you just never know what might happen in front of you.
Yeah. I think obviously a tough task. Mike Locksley is the head coach of Maryland. He does a great job of getting those guys prepared. They got a freshman quarterback that has been, really, really outstanding this year. I think he's only been sacked twice all year long. So he's getting rid of the ball and they're protecting pretty well up front. It's going to be a windy day. So it's going to be a lot of outside factors. But I think we corrected some things defensively last week versus Rutgers. And that was kind of the one thing that was our Achilles heel all season long, not doing enough defensively, not tackling well enough, not covering well enough, not getting enough pressure. So we kind of fixed some of those issues against Rutgers the week ago. And so hopefully we can kind of bring that back to this week and get after the quarterback. And I'm hoping, Howard, and we are both 6-3 right now. I am hoping that we both win out and we're both playing each other
in a
bowl game in January or late December. That to me, because if you're doing the bowl committee, if you're putting bowls together, you'll have bragging rights. December 22nd, a week.
Both programs travel well.
They'll be we got that game going down in St. Louis here in a couple of weeks, in a month or so, and then you travel down to wherever that bowl game is. I think it'll be a great.
And I think there should be a significant wager put on that.
Well, look, if we win, Howard, you can wear this on the neck.
No, that's too easy. That's too easy. I'm talking about significant. Don't worry, I'll come up with something.
All right.
I'll come up with something.
Hey, I'm still trying to collect from the Cotton Bowl 2 years ago from Orlando Pace, who
he lost. He left town. He left town. Catch me if you can.
But yeah, that would be outstanding. And there's history with Missouri against Brett Bielema, from the Arkansas days, and he's very colorful. I think from what he has really re-energized the fan base in Illinois. I think the crowds, people showed up this year better than ever, and I think he's perfect for. Probably never should have left Wisconsin. But
it's an argument to be made there. I'm glad he did, though.
but the fact that Illinois has him, there's so much to me to build towards. And he has redirected the culture. And the fan base is, to me, fully supportive of him. Which, going to Eli Drinkwitz, there's so many links with his name to a number of jobs, maybe a few less now, but primarily Florida.
That ain't gonna happen.
I don't think it happens either. And I just think that there are too many reasons for Drinkwitz, irrespective of his agent, Jimmy Sexton, for him to stay put. The grass is not always greener. That you open that box of Pandora, and there's so much to unravel there. But I think, with his family situation, they're extremely happy. He's got 4 daughters. They're in school. His wife loves Columbia. The fan base, for the most part, really likes Drink. The administration, from the president/chancellor to the athletic director, have really enjoyed what he has done there. And they see things from a big picture perspective, and not looking at like a lot of teams that this guy could jump ship and suddenly we're in a situation where we've got to go and redo this whole thing that we did 6 years ago and trying to find a coach. That was almost a disaster.
And you throw in the fact that the Florida job, it's one thing to be playing the SEC, but now all of a sudden here's Miami knocking at your door. Here's Florida State knocking at your door. Here's Central Florida knocking at your door. And you can't say no to all those schools as far as your non-conference schedule is concerned. So I think then there's some other reasons why I think he'll stay here.
Hey, Missouri, get ready. The wait is almost over. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming soon to the Show Me State, and you can sign up today. New Missouri customers get $300 in bonus bets when DraftKings launches on December 1st. Download the app now and place a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live, and DraftKings Sportsbook will bring everything you need to elevate your game day, including live in-game betting, lightning-fast payouts, and endless ways to get in on the action, all right from your phone. And when DraftKings officially goes live in Missouri, you'll be betting with the sportsbook app trusted by millions. It's safe, it's secure, and has fast money withdrawals. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use the code STL Sports to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet when DraftKings goes live December 1st in Missouri. That's code STL Sports in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Excludes customers who redeem pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
All right, Missouri, Mississippi State this weekend. What do you think?
Well, it's a game certainly that Missouri wants to show that they're better prepared for for Mississippi State than it was for A&M. And not to say that it wasn't prepared, but you march out a freshman quarterback who highly touted, 4 or 5-star kid. But here's the thing. He hadn't played a lot of football. Regardless of the fact that he was highly recruited, he had an injury last year in high school that required surgery. So he missed much of the season, if not most of it. And yeah, he got into a few games earlier in the season in relief, but that's not enough for anyone to say, like, this kid is ready for this moment. And then you trot him out there against a number 3 team in the nation. And you know that they're coming after him.
I bet it must look like 14 guys.
Man, I'm sure it did. I'm sure it did.
Well, but here's the thing. Here's where I think Missouri didn't do a good enough job in preparation. You knew that was going to happen. Drink has history against Mike Elko. You know what he's going to do. Put your quarterback in a situation where you can make it easier for him to acclimate.
Like hand off to the running back.
Hand off to the running back.
And rushing.
Because 207 yards rushing. If I told you that Missouri would have their 2 top backs would each have over 100 yards with, big runs, you would say Missouri's going to win this game.
Or you think they'd be closer? If nothing else.
Certainly that.
Yeah.
I think they could have rushed for 300 yards on Saturday.
I think the issue with them is once they got behind the chains, like if you didn't get anything on first down or second down, it was third and long. Now that's like life is hard for a young player.
But here's the thing, going just before halftime, it's only a 7-0 game.
Yeah.
You should be running the ball. And
because what works and what doesn't work by that first half.
Exactly. And to beat a team like A&M, you've got to keep away from their offense. With Craver and Concepcion, 2 dynamic receivers. Now, we'll say the defense held them in check for the most part. They really did. Each, 4 or 5 catches, less than 50, 60 yards receiving. That's a win, if you will. But there were a couple runs, things that you didn't really account for. They didn't have a dynamic running game, but there were was a 53-yard run, a 40-some yard run, 20-some yard run, 17-yard run. Take those runs away because they had about 250 yards rushing.
Yeah.
Take those big runs away, and I think it's a much closer game. But the defense was tired because the offense couldn't stay on the field, couldn't sustain drives, couldn't do a good enough job in a situation where you needed to be better and you knew the formula, you just didn't stick with it.
Yeah.
All right, that's Howard Richards. We call it Huddle Up with Howard, along with Carey Davis. We're done for the day. We'll be back next week, and we'll get into some NFL because now everybody's bye week is virtually behind them. We kind of know who's who, and we'll get into that next week along with what these two guys did over the weekend. For Mike, I'm Mike Claiborne. He's Carey Davis. That's Howard Richards, and this has been Huddle Up with Howard.